Oh,
So
definitely.
let's get this party started,
Hey,
brother.
welcome once again to everybody. Thank you for joining us again at this appointed time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, for our how-to sessions held Tuesdays and Wednesdays. My name is Virgile Obeo. For those new to the space, I'll be your marketing consultant slash brand success manager. I'm joined with my co-host, and that's your Q Rob to time in.
Robert Blakely, better known as the Blakester. Hey, Howard Barnes. Very nice to see you. Great to see you, Johnny. Hi, Rita. Hi, Room Monitor. Haha. Hi, Keisha. Hi, Tyler.
Oh,
Hi, Dr.
perfect.
Lisa.
Definitely. I see your hand up, Howard. We'll definitely get to your question and your answer. Just going to finish out rolling out what is the introduction for everybody here. So, what we do here is recorded and offered on different links that you can actually tap in through uh, the chat there to basically go over that. There are also links to our tutorial or our group, our team environment, where I put most of the documents that I offer. And in good tradition, we'll start as usual with a round of questions, tackling any user related issues that we may encounter then that we're using when we're using NowSite. And after that, I'll go into other subjects of conversation, depending on where this leads us. Fine for everybody? Perfect, perfect. So we'll start with the first hand up. Howard, I assume you have some questions.
Yeah, hey,
Oh, by
Virgil.
the way,
So
go ahead. Sorry.
did I cut you off?
No, 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 no. Go ahead.
Okay, so starting, I think May 30th, Now Site has changed in that when I had a form on one of my landing pages and somebody came into the form and put their information in, even if it was a duplicate, it still got added to the system. And that seems to have ended now. And so what that means is that anytime if I make more landing pages and the same person comes in on a different topic or landing page, I have no idea because it doesn't come into the system. Am I missing something here? I called support, and their suggestion was that I make Google Forms.
Okay.
And
Let me
that didn't
just
make any sense to me because, like, I mean, we're a software company. Why would I
mhm,
go to a different platform to make forms?
definitely. Well, at one point or another, this could be something, but I want to come back to what you just positioned, just so I follow clearly.
Sure.
So the error is that we're no longer, well, the issue that we are looking at is that now, if you're already part of my contact list and
Yes.
I make another offer and you
Yes.
sign in, you're
Yes.
not added to my general contact list again.
That's
Is that
correct.
okay? Is that what I heard?
Yes. And not to the list either.
You're not added to the list either. Okay,
No.
we're gonna test that because my question, I haven't noticed that. I have to be honest with you. I haven't looked in that direction in terms of list activity. I'm not necessarily tied into the now site administration as I was, so I'm more reflecting on these changes with you as a user as well. Okay, just to put things in perspective. Um,
Yeah. So,
uh,
so what would I do? Okay. So I'm a real estate broker. So let's say I made I got a new listing. So I made a new landing page with a form
mhm.
that I wanted somebody to go in and if they're interested in it, put their information in to get more information. And I always test it by putting my information in. And my information doesn't come up anymore. But prior to, I think it was May 30th, my information go in duplicate, and I just go into contacts and delete it if there was duplicates. But now what happens is it doesn't show up at all, so I have no idea if anybody is coming in looking at a new offering, which totally defeats the purpose of having the landing pages. Because if you have more than one offer, you want to know if somebody came in and clicked on that offer and is interested in that, because you need to follow up with them. And so anyway, what happens is I don't know if nobody's coming in, or I don't know if it's people that already have my contact list are coming in and they're just not showing up, or what the deal is. But it's for me, it's really uh, it's critical for the use of NowSite that somebody comes in and clicks on my forms. I know they did it, so I can follow up with them rather than have them just totally disappear.
No, definitely. I understand the problematic. What I'm doing right now, as I was following your explanations, I'm testing this in real time.
Yep.
So that way we can see the action, cover the troubleshoot, and see basically where this leads us. So I'm just, what I did here, as you were explaining the situation, is I went and tested this happening
Yep.
on my own funnel, right?
Sure.
I use a combination of name that I haven't used before, which I'll try repeating on the next funnel. First, I'm trying to see, well, it's giving a little bit of time to update through the system. I'm going to see what happens here.
So then what you're going to have to do the second time is put exactly the same contact information in. And
Yeah.
if it's brand new, it probably works. If it's not brand new, nothing there. It just disappears or
Okay.
it doesn't
So
appear.
so just following the first step here, you see here the name that I tested,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
I have it. This is good because in terms of conversation for me, it aligns a little bit about what I wanted to talk to today, the segmentation part of it. And here we're talking about that a client, a customer, or return acquisition. So he has gone through the system once, and he's now coming back for a different offer and submitting his name. Technically, what should happen, what we expect to happen, is that by creating that landing page, we have also generated a list because the list does more than one thing for us. It's more than where the contact are stored. It's about also aligning it with the conversation that follows the offer that the client has signed into. So you
Yeah,
can
the
see here,
list
I'm using this.
yeah,
I'm
the list is generated. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Unfortunately,
I'm
these
going to
guys
test it
don't
right
go to the
now.
list. They
Yeah,
don't
I'm
go
going
to
to
the
test it
list.
right now because just I'm explaining what I'm doing for the
Right?
rest of the audience
Yeah.
since we are in a one-on-one conversation, but everybody's also looking to follow along to
Sure.
address that problem. So I'm explaining it step by step so you can also confirm what you have done and what we're seeing here, right? It's the best way of troubleshooting any issue, right? So here I have this how-to masterclass date survey. Some of you might have seen it. I tested it. I used it for basically a date option offer, and I just tested it with that information. So I'm going to keep that in view, right? And this is what we got here in the system. So we have basically the profile that is created. I have the detail that I submitted, right? So now I'm going to go back, and just as you said, I already have a couple of other funnels, right? So
Okay.
I'm going to test that. And this
Yeah,
falls into
check
what
your
we're
list.
discussing.
Check, make sure it went in your list. Okay, check.
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Here, sorry, let me go back to that. True. Thank you for calling that out. So we're going to take a look at it. So it's the master. Shoot. I've been using this list as well. Did I do that? No, 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 no. That's not the one. Sorry. It's the event. Well, actually, instead of looking in the haystack, I'm just going to go back to the name here and open up the list. So he's in my master class date and time list, right? And you can see the other list that I have here going on, right? I'm going to go test the Virgile MasterCard list, right? So the asset that is tied to it with that same information. So that's where we are seeing the impact of what is happening, truly what you're reporting, and how to go from there, okay? So here, I'm just going to go back to this here asset. I'm going to bring it up. So in essence, first contact, the client would have opted in to an offer or an exchange of meeting or whatnot. And then after the meeting, I'm sending him another asset to have him do something more specific or a follow-up. So in essence, the same information I'm putting here. I'm just going to go back and copy paste the other one as well. So that way, that email is totally the same. Now, there was an option here that I picked just to come back to the notes. I'm going to take a look at the notes as well, because that's important. That's part of what I wanted to check as well in the process. So same email, paste here. There's a choice. I'm going to pick beginner and I'm going to register. Okay. So technically what we expect is not getting, well, we could be getting a notification since the person is opting into a new funnel. But the problem here is that we already acquired this person. So we're not necessarily expecting that new notification is already part of our system. We're going to take a look at what is happening in the notes. Okay. So going back to it, lists. So the list is created and I am reported as being part of that list. Just going to go back to it, to the list itself, just to make sure. So MasterCard list, this is when I jumped in first, and here I am as well. Okay, so it might have been something to do maybe with a code glitch, but so far the only thing that remains a fact is that, well, he's already into our system. So we're not getting a notification for this exact same acquisition.
And
But
he's not going in my list either. And when I talked to support, support
mhm,
told me if anybody uses the same email, they won't go in anywhere. They're out.
okay. Yeah. So yeah, maybe okay. At this point, what I want you to consider, because here I repeated every step as you put it forward, and so far the impact on my side is different. So at this point, I'm forced to ask you to take a look at maybe recalibrating your system, the history or whatnot.
How do I recalibrate it? What does
Well,
recalibrating my system mean?
erase your browsing history, erase your cookies, right? That could be cause of things that interfere with the rollout of the platform. Since I can't repeat the error, I can't give you a diagnosis vis-a-vis of the system. I have to look at what you are doing on your side, right? So, unfortunately, I am no longer available on their support line, so you can't book me for a meeting directly. You could up to book me for a meeting in private, but that has its cost and its fee differently, of course. So for now, what I would recommend, because what we are doing here does not replicate the error that you are experiencing, first, clean up your browsing history because sometimes there are cookies there that will interfere with things, right? With our algorithm.
Yeah.
You are, I hope, on Google Chrome or Google when you're doing this, right?
Yep.
Not
Yep.
another.
Yeah. But
Perfect.
anyway, just
So,
to share with you, Virgil, what
mhm.
NowSite told me was what I'm saying is absolutely 100% correct. That
Okay.
nobody will come through to a different page if they're using the same email address as they did on a different page, and so they won't go on the list, and that's gone supposedly. And it worked really good up until I think it was May 30th last time I did it, because that's the last time I made a landing page that had a form on it, and I filled out the form and my stuff stopped going through. And so I was really trying to figure out what the hell's happening. Then I didn't get any action all over the weekend. And so I got hold of support. And they says, yeah, what you're saying is true. It's not going to happen.
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's definitely, if there's, okay, one thing I want to put in terms, because again, I love the fact that you're giving us more information on what exactly experience with you, with what, with your exchange with support, which is the right thing to do, exchange with support and troubleshoot. But I just want to put things in perspective so that I make sure that I followed the issue or the situation that you reported. Every step of the way, every step that I took in terms of doing this on my side? Did it follow the dynamics that you were doing on your side? Right? That's exactly what we're reporting, right?
Well,
Did I do
you
something
share
different
my
or?
screen, you see what it does. Anyway, what I'll do is I'll clear my cache. I'll do all that stuff.
Yeah, I would
Not a
recommend doing
problem,
that.
but I'm just telling you, the advice I got from NowSite support was start making Google Forms if you
Okay.
want to know who's
Well,
coming into your
they,
site.
I can't defend what they're saying because I can't understand and I wasn't part of the communication and I have no
Sure.
access to it. But again, try my option since I wasn't able to
Yep.
replicate the problem, and we'll see about other
May I?
things as we go. Go ahead, Robert. Maybe you can time in. Sorry about that.
So what he's saying, I don't know if you're picking up what he's throwing down exactly, and I understand, I think, Howard, and we've proven that yes, if they're already on your list, they're not gonna show up as a new customer, so you won't get that alert. But if you have your email campaigns triggered and they go onto that list, then those emails should still go out. Do you know if those types of emails are going out?
I don't expect that they are because they're not on the list. They don't appear on
Yeah.
the list for the site, and so if they're not on the list, why would the emails go out? They have to be on the list to be triggered, right?
Right. This is why I'm asking you this question, right? It's the same person that's already on one of your lists, correct?
Yeah, well, say myself. Say, let's just talk about
Uh-huh.
myself. Okay.
Right.
And so I would always make a landing page
Sure.
and I would go into it myself and just to confirm that the landing page worked.
Mhm.
And then what I would submit the form and it always worked. And then what happens is starting, say, May 30th, stopped working. I couldn't check to see if my landing pages were working. And I didn't understand why. So I went through a weekend without getting anything. And so then I got hold of support yesterday morning, and they said that's correct. If that email address exists in the system, it isn't going in again. It won't go in a second time. No way.
Right. That's what Virgil just confirmed. But if you have that contact that's on there, they will go into that specific list.
No, they're not, because I should go into the list for the new form too, and I'm not.
So that's why
Yeah,
I'm asking this question, Howard. I think
yeah.
that that's wherein lies the problem, perhaps, is on your end, on your particular account. Because Virgil just showed, and it does work. You have that same contact, it's just going on that second list. And as long as they go on that list and you have an email campaign set up, then those emails will go out. So if that's not happening, I believe that that's an internal thing with your account. I don't think that you clearing your cache is going to help it, but it might. You
Well,
understand what I'm saying?
I
So
understand what
many
you're saying, Robert.
times when
All I
I'm
can do is tell you what support told me and what
right, I
support.
understand.
Okay.
Right, I understand, Howard. What I'm getting at is just like when we go to AI, it's all in the prompt. So what are we telling support as well? So that support understands what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying, but
There may have been a miscommunication on that end there, but we just proved, or at least he was able to do that himself, right? You could say to support, say, we went on, tested it. We had somebody else that was a now site user. They were able to confirm that that person, no, they're not going to go on again, showing up as a new person in your daily checklist, but they will go on whatever list it is. But yours is not doing that. And you're wondering if somebody can check your account internally. That's
okay.
kind of the direction that I'm heading towards.
Yeah, no, if that could be done, great, because that's a lot easier than
Right.
doing what support told me, go out and start making Google Forms for all my
Yeah.
landing pages. No, no, no.
Yeah, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense either. And then there was something earlier that you said too that I wanted to correct about us being a software company. We're not a software company. We're actually a marketing company. So that's what the whole software itself is designed to do is to help us market. So the forms themselves, sure, they're good to put on those pages, but if you're needing anything else, that's deeper, asking more questions, then that's what most of us will use is Google Forms.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to use what NowSite has. And
Sure.
I've been with NowSite since what, 2019?
Yeah, you've been around for a while, brother. I
Okay,
know that.
and I've got probably over 400 landing pages.
I
I
understand.
didn't want to have to go back in and start making Google Forms for
Right.
400 landing pages. I'm sitting here saying, wow, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it would be.
And so there's got to be, but I can tell you the day that it changed.
Yeah.
Okay, May 30th was the last time that I checked and I actually came up on the new list with my existing contact information. Since May 30th, nothing. Doesn't come up.
What I want to do is, since right now, based on what you gave us as an
Yep.
explanation, we went through a live testing on my side, which
Hmm.
is what is happening as we normally expect. So what I suggest is do the same thing, for example, for support on your side. Go
Okay.
through that short exercise where you use an avatar and you keep that same information. You follow these three type of gate or list that you would want this reaction to be tested on, capture that and send that to them so
Yeah, I
that
did
you
a
see.
loom. I sent them a loom showing them what happened. And they said that's absolutely correct. That's how it works.
Okay, okay.
So
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 that
I'm really
definitely
confused.
the
That's why I was hoping that maybe
well,
he
you know
had a
what? If
workaround or
if if they said this, let's put it this way, because we're always looking for the truth. And
yep,
at this point, we haven't said anything or done anything that we weren't supposed to do as users. They
yep.
they gave you a confirmation after you sent them a video showing what you have done and what is happening. follow up on this inquiry with this part of our video showing, well, what you said is happening on my account, which is supposed to be right, is actually not what other users are experiencing. Hence, you have this testing that was done by your former colleague in a live exercise, which went through the step, and
Sure.
we generated what we expect from the system. Because the first issue, and it's a very important issue, if it's happening on your account, you want it to be resolved.
Hey,
Because the
Virgil,
issue,
one more thing too that was brought up as a suggestion, which I can appreciate. Thank you, Keisha. Go to my website real quick, robertblakely.com/ the contact us,
can you
and
make
use
it
that
easy on me?
same
Can you,
information
mhm.
and fill out the form real quick. And I want to see if it comes onto mine.
Is it on my side, or do you want me to, okay, let me share the screen, or you can share the screen and run it from your
No,
side
I'm
there.
saying, well, I don't have that information. You have it already stored. Just go to my website and put it in there.
Let me just see here.
Same email on a different site you have, because what you did is the same email on the same site. Oh no, Keisha, he actually used two different websites.
Okay, you guys are confusing me a little bit on what we're trying to achieve here.
Well, ultimately, like I'm saying, I think that the question needs to be reworded to support.
Well, that's what we're discussing.
Prompt isn't
Yeah.
right. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
whatever he did with support, whatever he prompted, definitely was not phrased properly. Because what we did here marked every step of the way what he asked or what he was trying to repeat as an error. We didn't repeat that. And it would be a major thing if it was actually happening. So what I recommend, so that there's no prompt issue discussed, take the recording. It's a live testing on somebody else's account that you can share, because this is exactly what you're expecting to happen on your side, and that's it, right? Because we're straying away from the purpose of the conversation, and we're going into steps that we don't necessarily have control over, meaning that a conversation between you and support will be the outcome of how you presented the situation or what they had to go on, right? So I can't judge what they're saying. However, the facts are here. From what you explained, what should happen is not happening on your side. From the idea of somebody being a return customer to one of your different platforms and them not being properly stored or aligned in each list of consequence is a big
That's
issue,
correct. Yeah,
right?
that's correct. Yeah.
Verify with them directly. They might need to reset your account, but definitely that's not an issue that that I'm duplicating here. Anybody on their side that has been following the conversation and that is testing that or has tested it. If so, let us know if the error is something is happening on your side. Because if it's an event that impacted everybody, then everybody's account would act the same way, right? It's very important also to look at that when we're addressing an issue. How is the general impact, or how is the issue received, or the message or the consequences received generally? We're not duplicating this error. It's not a general system error. Do the checkup on your side. These are the basic steps that they'll have you do anyways. Clean up your cookies or whatnot, and then give them this conversation, or basically find a clear way to state what is happening, because as we discussed, what you expect is the right turnout of event.
Yeah, sure. And could you explain to me, Virgil? I guess I'm a little bit confused. What is your relationship to NowSite now, or do you have a relationship with them or not? Or
Well, I'm just a user like you in this space.
okay,
What we started with Now Site, I think, took on a different term here, in a sense that we were discussing the tool, but also discussing how to properly apply the tool. And that's knowledge base that I was still willing to share beyond the change of terms of my engagement or relationship with NowSite.
okay,
So this is what we're keep on going. We're keeping going. We're exchanging on a regular day, on a regular schedule, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, on topic of marketing. And we still address and use NowSite as a platform to demonstrate because it is a powerful tool still,
Okay.
beyond the quirks and kinks that we might see.
Okay.
Make sense?
Very much, Virgil. Thanks for your time.
Pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. But it's good because all that put us in perspective of what I wanted to discuss. I'll have to, well, softly introduce it today, and we will maybe elaborate more on it tomorrow because this was important. It actually laid or is giving a good idea of what to expect when we're using conversation, when we're creating strategy, when we're also talking about audience, their experience, and how we target them, right? Last time we went over the conversation around logos, shapes. Oh, sorry, Rita, you had your hand up, and in the motion and passion of things, I jumped in. Did you have a question before I continued?
It's a quick question and
Oh, shoot.
very easy to answer. In the course library,
Mhm.
the materials, are they listed from the most recent to the
Yes.
okay, so
It-
so it's like stacked. So the earlier class is on the bottom and then the more current ones are on the top, right?
Okay, let me just give you a quick navigation on that. Because what I did here, if you're referring to the course recordings, the most recent one are at the top, right?
No.
If
Okay,
it's
okay.
which one do you?
No, it wasn't that one because you have the dates on there and I'm super cool with that. It's the go down to course library. So I think it
Course
says
library?
six. Go up,
Uh,
go
the
up.
last one?
No, go up.
Oh, here, sorry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, here. Oh, here, what I did is I put them by groups of interest. Okay. And they don't specifically have an order because
Okay.
they're all around the same topic of conversation, right? So when you're looking at this, to go around the navigation, digital card course, and everything we covered around the digital card course asset checklist would be here.
Okay.
The way I've organized it is also in sequence to what we're doing. If you notice, we started talking about the digital card, or I restarted the conversation around that because it's essential to branding, but it also follows through to everything that happens when we're going to be emailing, right? And then following into how we handle our CRM, which is basically what sort of was happening today, right? The idea that the client navigating across our different acquisition gate was not also appearing across our different CRM tools, and that's not a good thing. So this is how you figure out. Does that put things in perspective here?
Yes, I took all of those into consideration because I looked at the very first thing that we did and then we moved through, but I just needed to be sure that I was
Mhm.
thinking on the same line. Okay, thank
Oh,
you.
perfect. Makes me happy because if you're taking advantage of it, then I am going to keep feeding to it. What I'm doing, since everything that we're discussing is in between the previous master class or the recent master class that we had and the one coming up, I'm putting everything that we're discussing in this time in between in the master class recap, right? So even the document for today, which is branding and segmentation, will be here. Take a look at it. It will be good preparation for the deeper dive in for tomorrow. What we discuss in sequence is also here, right? So I usually will add those at the bottom so we follow through. Make sense for that? Okay, so you can also get the new documents here. I found it more easier to do so. So yeah, so that was it. So the shape document is there. One of the things that was very great or very important, or well, that inspired me to go into this direction for now is the end result of this. We had Robert test the conversation or the optimization of his logo by adding a totem, right? Because all these simple things that we add, shape, colors, totems, have a conversation that they bring through. And we had two demonstration of this offer with the totem, one with the 3D realistic approach and the other one, which was more generally received. But when we added a simple factor, a bright color red on the chameleon, the 3D realistic part of it, we brought more, which started speaking differently to a specific segment of our audience, right? And this is where I wanted to go with this today, revisiting that conversation. When we started the 5 core attribute conversation around the brand DNA, we came into perspective of this scale, the same scale that basically appears when we're prompting AI for ratings on what will produce our card, right? These things that we're now learning to do to give us a way of to measure and also scale our growth. This is important, right? And in this case, when we started this, there was already an interest in how this all applied to segmentation. And I had hinted on the impact of it there, and we're going to double down on it, right? In terms of relevance, when we're talking about our core attributes, right? We go into that conversation right away, aligning it with the audience, with its expectation, with the industry tone. Already we can hear the echo of how are we talking to these people, right? This is important. In the exercise, we were looking at a specific step here, the one that defines your purpose, your target audience, your core message. And in branding, that is basically how you position your brand, right? The sum factors of all this conversation is how you define your brand positioning, right? And these are things that already, when you are looking at giving your brand its identity, its core identity, you're already factoring in. And this is important to keep in mind, right? Audience analysis, competitor landscape, in which environment the client or the audience is within the open offers already available to them, right? Because this is when you start looking at that. And it's important. It's information that you need going in, not information that you start collecting when you're in your market, when you're in your niche, battling it out with other brands. And this part is very important to us as network marketers because we have people that are active in the same industry that we have chosen to go for. And it's normal. Why? Because this is why we joined. We followed people into this activity, right? And this is important as well, right? When you're looking at defining your brand position, there's a lot of simple things, but they all expand into bigger conversation, deeper conversation. At least you understanding how you evaluate that will give you these as matrix to work with, right? So very important, understand where your brand is in the market. And this is important. For example, Robert, coming back to your logo, if you can give us this live test, if it's possible, if you still have the prompt, I want you to try to see. I want to see what the AI would generate if we ask it to add, basically, for example, a pair of glasses, right? Not shades, but seeing glasses to your totem, to the chameleon. Accentuate a little bit the smile and change the color to something that is more, for example, pink or pastel. And then we'll take a second look at this, and you'll see that simple attributes, simple things will define the audience that you're speaking to, or allow yourself to align yourself with the greater audience in that niche of interest. Very important, right? We had a very realistic version of a chameleon, but if we made it more kid-wise, already we would see, okay, well, we have to talk to them differently. This has to be presented differently. Segmentation in a broad view is viewed like that, or is experienced like that by all. This is the adult section. This is the adult sections. This is the kids section. This is the teenager sections. When we go into the movie, the ratings are another way of doing so, right? So ourselves, when we're creating our brand, or when we're looking at our brand, we have to factor in these things. Last time, for example, in the conversation that we were having, George also mentioned the fact that he was at a crossroad, had one umbrella brand, had three other brands for which he wanted to create logos. But when we went through the conversation and started looking at, okay, what makes these products different? The main thing that came out was not the industry, which overall was wellness and health, but it was the audience. And based on the audience, we had to appeal them in a certain specific way, right? So already when you're coming back and looking at your 5 core attributes, when you're looking at your relevance, right? When you're looking at your audience, already there you're doing segmentation. And this is just going to follow you and get deeper as you progress. Because to an audience, there's a specific approach in messaging that you will have to follow. Not only at the acquisition point, but also as we follow through to the next point of the journey, from acquisition to conversion, from conversion to retention. In essence, when we're talking about segmentation in this space, we're looking at that format. Because often enough, the way the lists are used determine everything around this process or this strategy. Hence the importance of what came before this conversation. The issue with the list is essential to what we're doing, right? When we're looking at audience segmentation, when you're looking at audience and their prospect journey, right? Segmentation, you will see, is a term that will come in a lot when you're doing marketing. Often enough, the first conversation around segmentation is when we propose a product. We say this is for this audience, this market, this segment of the population. Go ahead, Robert.
Okay, I'm ready when you are about the prompt.
Oh yeah, drop it. You have it? Just
Let me
ask
share my screen.
yeah, go ahead.
It's easier if I share mine.
There you go.
Let's see here. Do. Okay, everybody see my screen? Good to go? Okay, cool. So originally all it was this. I put in my logo that I already had originally created through ChatGPT, which was a variant of my original logo that I created many years ago. Came up with this. This was the original prompt. Using my current logo and brand colors, if I wanted to rework my logo, but add my spirit animal of the chameleon, what would that look like? And then it gave me these options to rework your current logo, incorporate spirit animal, chameleon, blah, 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 blah. It gave me multiple concepts.
Nice.
So all I did originally, and you saw when we were on here last week, popped in a bunch of different ones that I'll show you guys. Those of you that weren't here, you can see. I only did concept one, but it gave me 4 concepts. Here's camouflage pattern in the background, chameleon integrated into the lettering. So 3 different ones. And this was, I said, let's start with concept 1. And that's what it gave me.
Perfect.
I liked it, but like Rita, since she wasn't really a big fan, I would have liked to have seen more blending, between the chameleon itself. And I said, I love this idea. What concept 2 looks like. So that's what concept 2 looked like. And then concept 3. So those were the ones that I shared last week.
Concept 2 was the first one that I had, well, put on my screen for everybody to discover. It's the first one that I discovered. And remember that everybody had a good reaction around that. Then the second one, that one here, we were all, it's kind of getting confusing.
It looks sad.
Right? Sad was the term, right? And
Sad
the
chameleon.
first one was the idea of that reptile. Go back to the gold one, the last one, the gold one. No,
The
the
one
last
that I
one.
just shared? Okay,
Yeah,
so
this
that
one.
was
Yeah.
that was saying I love this one, but can we have them more blended with less red so it doesn't chase people away because of what Rita had said?
Yeah.
So then it gave me all gold.
You see? So what I wanted to point in this is that if we could try one more thing. I know it's not your logo, it's not your brand, but I just wanted to add these elements in demonstration,
The
right?
sunglasses.
For example, one of the things that Rita mentioned was the dread that came, or what I picked up on, which was the first thing that would create an advert reaction, was the dread that came with the red that was so present. And now we're taking that off. So we're looking at elements and adding. Was thinking, I wanted to see if we increase the smile expression on this logo and added to it a pair of glasses. Why specifically a pair of glasses? Well, you don't hate people that wear glasses, non-confrontational, right? It's a mark of pseudo intelligence, some would say, right? So we remove that element. And by adding that element to a chameleon, knowing that they don't wear glasses, we turn it into something more, right? Certain things like that will allow you, or certain thought process like that, or that thought process, understanding what is the value
So
of what you're doing.
let's do that because I just kind of gave you a sneak peek.
Hey.
This is what it transformed into, right? It started
Mhm.
going this way. Like the original version, too red. Can we make it more blended? So I started trying to get them more blended, a little more blended. I wanted the blender, you know. I can't
Mhm.
remember what that cartoon was, but his blender was broken, apparently. And I tried to get him even more blended. All right. Now, this is where we ended up. So pretty blended. I like that. So now, okay, I like this. Let's have him smile and add a pair of glasses.
But already, is everybody noticing how that small shift in color already addresses the mood? And by doing so, or shifting the attributes, what we start looking at is, okay, well, who is this made for? Right? Or who will be ready to receive this more openly, right? So when you're doing your, again, 5 core attributes, when it comes down to anything that adheres to the audience, already understand that this is the process that is starting. You're creating segments, and you will be able to speak to everyone, or everyone that you have in your line of sight to do, one at a time, right? Often enough, when I have meetings and I ask about, well, who is this for? The answer tends to be it's good for everybody. But I didn't ask you who is it good for, right? I
Check it
asked
out.
you, who is this made for? Who are you trying to speak to? Who are you targeting? Who is your audience? And that's one of the core things that we often
Love
forget
it.
to properly evaluate. So you see now, we know that it's no longer a real chameleon because it has glasses. So we have that more friendly vibe coming in,
How about now,
right?
Rita? He's cute, isn't he?
It is cute. And I noticed I don't know, they have arms, whatever you call their
Yeah.
The
extremities.
father.
Yeah, yes, it's now not going through the R, it's below the R. So it even changed that position. So yeah, that looks cute.
You see, that's audience
I
adjustments.
love it. Much better.
You see, there's something about the reptiles and the feminine that usually don't mix. You said it yourself, Robert, right? But
Yeah.
it's also
Yeah,
small
yeah.
things that are
Little tweaks
happening in
that
the
makes a
market
world of
that
difference.
will tip the scale in your favor, especially when you're looking at mass marketing.
And wouldn't that have to do with who your clientele is? If you're marketing to
Yeah.
males, maybe the red one, ferocious looking, it's
Mm.
beautiful, but that might apply to them. But even Martha was saying that she liked it as well. So that might be something to look at when the people that you're directing it to, your audience, are male, female, or they could be both.
Well,
Mm.
100% go back to the 5-day boot camp where we talk about the color and the psychology of those colors, right? Even
Mm.
still red. Like if he would have been a green one, it might not have been so ooh in your face to begin with, right?
No, but I love the color.
Yeah,
Red is my favorite color, red and black.
yeah,
So I like the color. I just didn't like the look.
gotcha. Yeah.
The
There's
shades are
something,
awesome.
the cool one. There's something that it's that little something that comes in each time that
Yeah.
makes that different, right? You like red, but in this contest, that red did something else that you didn't necessarily recall something else. And that's the game that we're playing in marketing. How do we create things that align with the most positive experience that people have felt in their life, right? If you're looking at what is being said about branding now, they'll let you know that branding is now not even the logo or everything that we're discussing. It's the experience that people will go through when dealing with your brand, right? It's that experience that they will speak about. It's
Right.
that
And just
experience that will carry your momentum. Go ahead.
and I think I mentioned this to everybody before, but in case somebody's new or hadn't heard it, the key thing that we want to always drive into everybody is just get started. It doesn't matter. Like we could do all this stuff. You're learning this stuff now because you're here, so put some effort into it. But just get started because it will evolve over time. Your colors will change, your logo will change, the businesses will
Guess what?
change,
I
all that
found,
stuff.
remember I told you, tell make a son wash his feet, wipe his feet before you come in. I was
Yeah, he better
watching
be
something
wiping
on
his feet,
YouTube and they
Dinah.
have this rug, so when they walk in, their feet get.
That's right. Tell them to wipe their feet.
Absolutely.
Teach them while they're
Absolutely.
young.
Yeah, no, Robert is right. Yes, he is right in the sense that you have to start because with no action, there is no reaction. Nothing is happening. You can't even get a response to test it, right? So that momentum or that flow, once you find it, well, you already have it. So once you kickstart it, right, when you put it in drive, you keep it, right? And because things are happening so fast, you're going to be forced to pick up information, active listening, active observing, right? And be able to quickly make decision that matters in this agile world, right? So this is important. The reason again uh, where that you have to consider in everything that we're discussing, right? The defining your brand positioning, understanding the audience analysis, right? Going to your competitor landscape. The reason why this is important because it finds itself where we are always asked to go. Where, one second here, the unique value proposition. How can your offer be unique if it doesn't speak to me? Because remember, when we're talking about our product, we're not talking about us. We're talking to the clients about their needs, about what this product can do to them, the benefits of using the product. So we're looking at them, right? So the value positioning, how can you, for example, say something of value to me if you don't know who I am? If you haven't identified what else I'm submitted to. You see that small thing, understanding who your audience is, understanding, okay, well, that is the landscape in which my audience is when it comes down to competitors or any factors working in my favor, right? That falls into that. You have to keep that mechanic because it's so important. It's invaluable, right? Again, these take time for us to go through, test, endure, feel the hurt, and then we just summarize it and put it together here. And it's fundamentals, right? And if you already have a lot of things into place, well, go back and evaluate these things in place vis-a-vis of these fundamentals, right? Put it to the test and see. Because all this will, knowing, understanding, and being able to apply this quickly will allow you, when you're in conversation, to shift your value positioning, right? Because when you place your value, it's a first proposition. I'm proposing you this, but very quickly, I have to be able to know how to navigate the conversation to reshape this offer, always around the benefits that you are looking for. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, I just want to add to what you're saying there, in case anybody doesn't understand this. Your UVP may be slightly different depending on what product that you're dealing with. So if you're working multiple businesses, don't just think of one unique value proposition for that one product. You need to think of multiples. Just so in case you don't know.
Multiples, for example, coming back to what we discussed when we are, and this we're going into how the audience analysis will impact the messaging or the sales strategy. Remember, we discussed three types of customers: simple, simple but complex, complex but simple. When do you think you need a whole bunch of value proposition offers or go to? Complex but simple. Simple because I already have these different pivots, right? And I'm going to offer this one.
I was gonna say, ooh, I know.
Go ahead. But at this point, if everybody has been following or even just paying close attention to what we said from the beginning, even if you weren't there when we discussed simple, simple, complex, or complex but simple, you understand where we're going with this. And you understand where the audience mind is. High ticket, high value offers. We're always in that tier. Complex but simple. Right? And that is when we have to be prepared. This is when we have to have made this audience analysis. Who am I talking to? Yes, it's the business, but who in the business am I talking to? Because I'm going to have to match the benefit of my product to that audience in the company. I won't be talking, for example, talking about a financial product, right, at a business corporate level. Talking to the CEO and executive officer or owner about this product won't be the same type of conversation that you'll be placing, not same benefits or impacts that you'll be putting forward if you're talking to the actually end user of that software within that company. This is a software that is for accountant, but this is how you would present it to the CEO to see how clearly he could see his audit and also predict anything to come. And to the actual accountant, it's how easy he can use to give reports, clear reports to his CEO. But it's the same product, right? But because I know how to position my values, because I understand the audience and I understand their benefits. Because remember, when we're talking again, value positioning, it's not your value, right? It's the value that you're giving to the client, right? How are you presenting it to them? Because this is when they give you value, right? You might look at a product, at an object. This is particularly um, uh, uh, obvious in art, right? And auctions, for example. Something comes on the table and people will look at it and it has a set value for everybody, a standard, but some are willing to go the extra mile to have it, right? Often enough, products that go through auctions, in and out of auction, will tend to acquire value because the person purchasing it will try to resell it at a higher value. And it's that momentum that drives the cost or the willingness to pay more for the same product. We're talking to the specific audience, right? The uniqueness of this product or the amping up of this product reputation makes it more valuable for those who can offer it or who can afford it. We're still speaking to their needs. This is so important. Go ahead, Robert.
I was gonna say, you know how I would structure that if you were the CEO? I would ask you how well you like your accountant. You know what I'm saying? Be like, how well
Yeah.
do you like your accountant? Find out what he says, yeah, good, bad, or indifferent, and that's the angle that I would take. Well, if you want to make their life better and make yours even greater, then we should talk. Let me show you this. You got a few minutes?
Now, that is one. What if the accountant has to be his spouse, the co-executive. How do you like your accountant? That conversation could backfire quick. I'd be like, well, I happen to have
No,
married my
no. It would be in direct alignment, actually, quite honestly.
Well, I love her to
I
death, but
would
I
be able
can't
to
fire her,
pull
I can
that
tell you
off.
that.
I would be able to pull that off. He'd say, "Well, my accountant's my wife." I said, "Exactly. How well do you like her?"
When when
And
I
we would
when
laugh. He would laugh. She would laugh, and then we'd do business.
when one of the for example, um simplest simplest and direct path to a business owner's table of conversation is always profit. How do you balance out your sheet to better see where you're profiting, or worse, where you're losing? Can you see that? And actually, is your accountant equipped properly to give you that? Bring that accountant in, right? Some of these, sometimes the we make it more complicated than it is to
Oh,
get
no,
an audience.
absolutely.
Sometimes we
And to
make it
your
more
response, if you would
complicated.
have asked me that, I would have said, "I don't know. My accountant takes care of all that."
Well, now let's figure that out because you as a CEO need to have a clear idea of what your accountant is. Because if the shift are not going in the direction you think, you might be losing or making more than you know.
Well, I just
Let's
need to
fix
have an
that.
accountant that's smarter than I am that works with me.
Well, what if you could have something that actually took that necessary add-on out, right?
Tell me more about that.
Ah, there's no businessman who will ever say no to the idea of solid profit because that's what we're doing. This is what we're in here for. And this is, if you notice, this is the greatest hook that people will try to use when trying to do the wrong thing. Swindle, scam, or whatnot is the appeal of profit. The greater, the faster, the better, right? In an offer to a CEO not to blow smoke out, telling them the facts. Well, look at what you're losing because if you're a good businessman, you know how to balance your expenses. So you know what cost and loss are, right? Whenever you are organizing your time, you factor in loss of time in between meetings or whatnot. There's always a portion of loss there. So by speed and loss is a pressure point, right? People buy out of fear of loss. We're not even reinventing the wheel, the basic ones. You want to make more or you don't want to lose less? Which is the best choice for you? I mean, I'm sorry, but a CEO is not going to back out of that conversation. He has to give me an answer.
No, I love that, and I love that it was an option close.
There you go. It's an option close. Either way, I got you.
Perfect. Exactly.
Right? Knowing the audience, positioning our unique value position, our proposition, understanding the audience, right? The competitors. Right now, the audience is, I'm competing with his mind frame. For example, in the back and forth that I had with Robert's CEO, well, I was competing with his mind frame,
Mhm.
right? Oh, oh, oh. But in the end, all this all amounts to the same need. Do you want to make more or lose less, right? And I have a solution for that. The next is okay, the dance. Give me 5 minutes, give me an hour. Bring your accountant, bring your wife. Let's all have this party. I'll bring the goods, right? That's the dynamics. So very important. We're close to the end. Well, we're at the end for this exchange. This is a good prep up for what is happening tomorrow. Take a look at that document. See if anything doesn't speak to you properly and make it a question for tomorrow. Have that in mind when you are building your brand DNA booklet. Because once these are anchored, or at least if you have a way to quickly anchor these values, because often enough, when you sign into an activity, all this work technically is done for you. Here it is, sort it out, do your best, right? And this is when you're gonna need this framework to pluck out the audience that is right for you. Now, site is a big tool. If you're selling it, who are you talking to? Where is your audience going? Because then I'm going to have to take whatever is good about my product and match it with my audience need and expectation, because that is the benefits. When need and expectation are matched, that's benefit. So understanding my client's core need and understanding the benefits that they're looking for and how these benefits are matched with my product, the question about, I don't know what to say, disappears. It's not that we don't know what to say. It's we don't know who we're talking to. That's the problem. Most of the conversation around that is that I don't know what to say. No, you don't know what who you're talking to. Because if you knew your audience, you would know what to say to trigger things, right? On that note, we'll come to a halt for today, but let's look at this document. Let's go over these simple points that we're asking you to consider. Go back to your exercise. Look at your two-line rationale, because already there you should feel the echo of your audience, right? You're speaking to a specific type of people, specific words, right? A rhythm in what you are doing. Whether you use, for example, 2 names to define your business, or 3 or 4 letters, right? You're creating a rhythm there. What is happening?
I
Question?
thought you said lanes. I was like, man, get out of my lane, buddy. One lane only. And if you're not going fast enough, it better not be the left lane.
Oh,
We'll see y'all tomorrow, everyone.
absolutely. And thank you again for being a part of this. You are making it real.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you both.